Hey, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, then my name is Erica. This is the second time I'm recording this video. That's why I'm laughing, because if I don't laugh, I'm gonna scream, and I'd rather not do that. So, yeah. Today, I am going to be reacting to a video by Paul and Morgan. I actually did a reaction to them back in March, I think, when I first started posting regularly on my channel. And the reason I don't react to them super often is because it's emotionally taxing. And I think most people that watch my channel can understand why that is, because they're very bigoted people and they use their religion as an excuse to discriminate against other people, which I'm not okay with. And I'm just gonna give a disclaimer that I'm not judging anybody based on their religion. I have nothing against religious people. What I have against is people who use their religion as an excuse to be bigoted and to be judgmental towards other people. And so, yeah, the video I'm going to be reacting to, which I already reacted to, but it's the first time you're seeing me react to this, because the first time around my microphone is not working, and hopefully it's working now. But the video I'm going to be reacting to is called "Would Jesus Wear a Mask?" Responding to Skillet's John Cooper. And before I even get into this, let me just say, the first time, oh god, I started playing the video, but the last time I reacted to this, I didn't get through the entire video because it got me so annoyed, and I was just like, for my sake, I'm not gonna continue. So I don't know how far I'm gonna get into this video. But I do think it's worth making this video. So, like, don't worry about me, I'm fine. I think it's worth making this video because, like, I feel like Paul and Morgan probably don't talk to a lot of disabled people. And I do think the disabled perspective is very pertinent in this discussion about mask wearing, especially since it entails, like, we're excluding people. And it's like, in this country, we exclude disabled people regularly. We house them in special places because that's where people like you go. Okay, I'm getting mad already. Let's start the video.
To make an argument, and again, I'm not picking on Beth, it's just the one that happened this week. This is all over the place and woke Christian Twitter. It's pretty easy to make a case for anything and then say, because of love of neighbor.
In Beth's tweet, she's, basically saying we were called to love our neighbors, so get the jab, put on a mask, and if you're not going to get the jab, you better be wearing the mask. Thank you for your interpretation.
That's wearing the mask.
And I love what John says about how we cannot keep using this argument of love your neighbor, and he's going to go further into why this is kind of like not a great argument to have when it comes to the mask or the jab or whatever.
Wait, hold on a minute. So you are on the record saying we can't use the argument of love your neighbor, therefore do this, even though the Bible talks about the number one rule outside of loving the Lord your God is loving your neighbor as yourself. You're going against Scripture.
So annoying.
Anyone can say, love your neighbor, therefore do this. And we're like, all right, let's unpack that. what does it mean to love your neighbor, and is it that black and white, that obvious?
Yeah, why have you, Beth, and other Christians, whatever, or not Christians, decided that this is how we love our neighbor?
Yeah.
Because there are other Christians who have decided, no, I'm going to love my neighbor by fighting for their freedoms, by fighting and standing up for their rights, all that jazz.
All right, let's keep going with this clip. That was only...
Okay, so they're saying that people can use the love thy neighbor command to mean whatever they want it to mean. And now, for a second, I'm going to agree with them. But also, they, in my opinion, they do that too. So let's acknowledge that we all use things for our own agenda. But the thing is the people that want you to wear a mask, and of course I'm generalizing here because maybe some people do want to control you, but other people just don't want to keep spreading a virus that can kill other people. And I think that should be a good enough reason for you to just wear a mask.
Better be wearing the mask. Thank you
That's the
for
mask.
your interpretation.
That's wearing the mask.
And I love what John says about how we cannot keep using this argument of love your neighbor. And he's going to go further into why this is kind of like not a great argument to have when it comes to the mask or the jab or whatever.
Wait, hold on a minute. So you are on the record saying we can't use the argument of love your neighbor, therefore do this, even though the Bible talks about the number one rule outside of loving the Lord your God is loving your neighbor as yourself. You're going against Scripture.
Annoying.
Anyone can say, love your neighbor.
And now Paul is like making this like he's kind of pretending he has a gas mask on. There's a big difference between a gas mask and like thankfully right now we're not in a war zone, and I think poking fun at that and trying to compare the two is disgusting because number one, it trivializes what it's like to be in a war zone when real people have to unfortunately go through that, and a lot of it being our country instigating issues, which is a story for another day. But you're trivializing that, and also just stop.
White, that obvious.
Yeah, why have you, Beth, and other Christians, whatever, or not Christians, decided that this is how we love our neighbor?
Yeah.
Because there are other Christians who have decided, no, I'm going to love my neighbor by fighting for their freedoms, by fighting and standing up for their rights, all that jazz.
All right, let's keep going.
Okay. Can I just say that I can say it because this is my channel and I can say what I want within reason. But I hate the way that Paul patronizes Morgan, and he talks to her like he would talk to a child. Morgan is not a child, she is your wife. Like, I feel like Paul thinks he's like the man in the relationship and he can talk down to Morgan, and I just hate that because I've been in relationships with people like that, and I know how it feels to be belittled and how like whatever you say, it's like, no, I know better than that. Like, I can mansplain things to you, and it's like, please don't. You're gonna love your neighbor by fighting for their freedom. Okay, so when I go out to a restaurant and there are steps with no ramp and I can't get into that restaurant simply because I'm disabled and the world was not built for me, are you going to fight for my rights then? And I'm gonna be fair here and say I am using a straw man argument, but like, I don't see having a choice to not wear a mask as a fundamental freedom, but I see me and many other people not being able to go places just because the world wasn't built with them in mind. I see that as an impingement, a word that I hate, on our freedoms. Like, if somebody's blind and there's no braille, or if there's no like alt text or image descriptions available, they cannot participate in that. If somebody's deaf and there's no sign language available or closed captioning, they cannot see that movie or see that performance or go to that museum tour or whatever the person wants to partake in. Like, Paul and Morgan, I realize you don't know this, but not everybody is able-bodied. And also not everybody's cisgender, and not everybody's thin, and not everybody's white. So, for you have, Paul and Morgan have a very different perspective on freedom than other people do. Like, of course, being disabled, I'm going to have a different perspective on freedom because my entire life I've been denied access to certain places. I have entire videos on my channel dedicated to the discrimination that I, as a disabled woman, have faced. So, if Paul and Morgan aren't gonna watch in this video, but if by chance they do, I would encourage you to go watch those videos about me being discriminated against, me having my freedoms not taken away from me, but my freedom, my ability to go to certain places hasn't been so cut and dry. I've had to fight for that. And people like Paul and Morgan did not fight for me. So, yeah. So if they want to talk about how they fight for freedom and they care about freedom, yeah. So if you can't keep using the argument of love thy neighbor, why do you then use it again in this video? And I can say that because this is the second time I'm recording this video, so I've watched it. As for wearing a mask because you love your neighbor. So, Paul and Morgan, I don't know if you know this, but there are disabled people in existence. There are immunocompromised people in existence. There are elderly people in existence that getting this virus can end their lives. So if you putting on a mask so your little like germs and droplets go into your mask rather than out into the air where they can infect other people, I say just suck it up and put on the damn mask. No, and that's not even going into how the virus has disproportionately affected communities of color and communities of certain socioeconomic backgrounds, specifically like urban and like rural areas that are more low income. So, like, because, like, not everybody who's going to get this illness is going to survive. And sure, you can say that about every illness, which is also why I think if you're sick, and if you can, you should stay home so that you don't get other people sick. And in this case, with this illness, you may not know if you're carrying the illness that I cannot say on YouTube. So the best way to prevent it is, number one, to get the VAXXED. And if for whatever reason you cannot, then at least wear a mask. You know why people have decided why you should wear a mask? Number one, because scientists have said it. Number two, because it's common sense that a lot of your germs are in your mouth and nose. And so in order to prevent those germs from going in and infecting other people, wear a mask to keep it in.
I saw a picture of it was a billboard in Canada, and it's a picture of a baby, and on the billboard it says, "The greatest gift that you can give your child is not having a second child." Well, their opinion is that the greatest thing you can do to love someone is stop having kids, because we're actually making people's lives worse, because we're overpopulating the planet.
Ooh. We saw Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. They received.
And now they're wasting our time by, well, because they're actually reacting to this other guy's video. I think his name is John Cooper. Yeah, it says it right there, John Cooper. So this guy, John Cooper, is bringing up that he saw a billboard in Canada that says, if you love your child, the best thing you can do is not have another child. And now I understand that is a controversial topic, and not everybody agrees with that. And that's fine, because this video is not about that. But for some reason, John Cooper is making this video about that. Probably because he doesn't have any real substantial arguments to make about this. So that's all he can really say. And he's like, well, people aren't gonna agree on that, because some people think like you should have more children. And it's like, that has nothing to do with this. That has nothing to do with any of this. And no, I realize he's later going to tie this into like tyranny and totalitarianism. And like, I agree that when governments put constraints on how many children you have, I don't believe that's a great way to go about things. But that has nothing to do with being asked to wear a mask. It has nothing to do with that.
That is just tyranny, totalitarianism. Whether that comes, whether that comes from the government or whether that's just like a cultural tyranny, like you are excluded from being involved in anything in the public sphere, which we're beginning to sort of see right now. I am very scared of tyranny for lots and lots of reasons.
I think
If you're not scared of the virus, that's because you have privilege. And yeah, I realize that people that are relatively healthy and young have still died from this illness. But for him to sit back and say, I'm not afraid of this. The mask isn't always necessarily to protect you. It's to protect other people. And other people may have very good reason to be scared of it. And even if they're young and relatively healthy, they can still have serious complications. So just put on a mask. Listen, John Cooper, do you have any idea what it's like to be excluded from things? Do you have any idea what it's like to be like to hear from people, oh, you can't go to this school because people like you don't go here. Because I know what that's like. Them saying you can't go here because you're not wearing a mask is not the same as not being able to go places just because of who you are. Oh my God. These people, oh my God. I find it so ironic that they're talking about how people are being excluded from the public sphere because they're choosing to not get VACCINATED, and then they're also choosing to not wear a mask. Nobody's excluding you. You're excluding yourself. But you know what is legal in this country, because the ADA was supposed to be a starting point, but it never really got off the ground. It's legal for things to not be accessible to disabled people. It is legal for things to be inaccessible, for disabled people to not be able to go to certain places that people like Paul and Morgan and this John Cooper character, they take for granted because they have no idea what it's like. They have no idea. And yet they're acting like they do, and they're using that argument, they're perverting that argument for their agenda. They want to talk about using an argument for their agenda. Number one, we all do that, no matter who we are, no matter what our agenda is. And number two, that's exactly what they're doing right here. And they're not just using it for their agenda, they're perverting it. Because that argument comes from real pain, from real people being excluded, from real people facing discrimination that they have been privileged enough to never have to face. And I don't say never as in they're never in their life going to face that, because they might face it at some point in their life, but so far they have not faced it, and they don't acknowledge that they have that privilege, and so they just use that argument all hilly-nilly as if it means nothing. Being told to wear a mask is not the government taking away your rights in place of your safety. I don't even understand. I can't even argue that, because it doesn't make sense. Because how is wearing a mask taking away your freedom? It's like, so is wearing a seatbelt taking away your freedom? Is wearing clothes, because we're not allowed to walk around wearing no clothes, so the government took away my freedom, so let me just flip out? And I realize I'm using straw man arguments, and so are they. I'm just tired. I don't know what else to say at this point. Why won't my
Safism. When you are willing to trade, I will give you my rights, government. I will give you control of my life. If you just keep me safe, if you just keep me safe from all harm, I'll give it all over to you. That's scary. That is a scary, scary place. And mark my words, you will see incredible oppression if people are willing to give up everything they have in order for the government to take care of them.
That's what we're seeing.
I already see incredible oppression in this country. I see it by the way we treat undocumented immigrants. I see it by the way we treat people of color. I see it by the way we treat disabled people and trans people and tons of other populations of marginalized groups. So for you, you little white resenting boy, and you seem to be able-bodied to be talking about oppression, shut up, take a seat, and listen to actual people who've had to face it in their lives. Because even I have lots of privilege in this country that many people don't have. And it's not because of anything I did. It's just because of the family I was born into, the place I was born, and the skin color I have. I didn't choose any of that, but I have that, and it affords me privilege in this country. But you know what is a choice? Acting like this, acting as if wearing a mask is a form of oppression when it's not. That is a joke. Stop. Just stop it already. Who is making you give up everything you have? You're being told to wear a mask. Who the hell is telling you to give away everything you have, to sign over all your rights? Who? Tell me who's doing this, because it's not happening to you. I can guarantee it's not happening to this guy. I can't guarantee it's not happening to you watching this, unfortunately, because I don't know who's watching this, and I hope whoever's watching this is not experiencing this, but I can assure you this guy is not experiencing this because he's making this argument. Because anybody who was experiencing this would not be saying wearing a mask is having your rights taken away from you. You know what? And I have to disagree there, because young people are still going out and partying. So like, and I don't know. I'm tired right now.
Listening to Allie B. Stuckey's podcast talking about this topic and how she sees a more of an influx in the Gen Z and younger generation of just being more fearful and being like, I need to be safe, therefore the risks, I'm going to kind of avoid those. Yeah. Less people getting their driver's license, less guys asking girls out to go on dates, just smaller stuff like that.
Boy, Allie B. Stuckey. Comment down below if you'd like me to do a video on her, but it's probably not going to be within the next week, because I can only deal with this type of tomfoolery in small doses. I'm done with this video. If you enjoyed it, and I know that's a really weird word to say after all of this garbage and BS. I know it's weird to say if you enjoyed it, but if you enjoyed it, or if you learned something, or if this was in some way cathartic for you, please give it a big thumbs up. And if you have not already and you would like to see more of my content, please consider hitting that subscribe button. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again next time. Bye.